Hello and good morning, folks. Welcome to another riveting episode of Midlife Muscle and Strength Podcast, where we try to help you be better, not broken. It's been a minute since we had Mike Thompson on, and I think that was before the new year, right? Was that?
The week before Christmas.
Yeah, so it's been a minute. We had a guest on, and then we kind of had a little New Year's holiday hiatus, as everybody, I think, should take. But I'm Mickey Kilmartin, and this is...
JP Viancek.
Welcome back, sir. Good to see you. Always layered up. You know, you're always layered up. Doesn't matter where you are.
I like to be warm, you know?
I have to be honest, I always envied your layered look back in the day when we were training together in these cold months. You'd show up with a flannel, probably a vest, maybe a long sleeve, and then one more layer underneath, a t-shirt, or maybe just some chest hair.
Just stripping down while you train, you know?
But you made it look good. If I tried to layer up, I just looked like a marshmallow. You just looked nice and just mountain manish.
I had a lot of layers to hide, so just
you're trying to fluff it up. It was camouflage. So today's episode is JP's brainchild. He messaged me, what was it, 2 days ago? He texted me and said, I've got some listener questions I want to share. I said, let's have at it, baby. Yeah, burning questions. And I love the questions, so I want to jump right in. But before we do, just very quick, don't want to divert too much, but New Year fitness things, you just sort of settling into a new routine here. What's going on for you fitness-wise?
Yeah, fitness-wise, we're transitioning to some heavier weights and being more athletic, and it's out of my hibernation season. So,
He's awake.
We're building back up. So I'll probably take it a little easier through January, and then February I'll start hitting a little harder, adding a little more weight, adding a little more intensity. I don't think I'll change how many days a week just because kids schedule, but still morning times. Yeah. And then I think I've been a little lackadaisical with the eating, so I'll focus on that.
Everybody has to.
Yeah, so I'll kind of dial it. Not making any huge changes, but just going back to the basics of, whole foods and 3 meals a day, and I just do better with that. So, but yeah, I think it's kind of like during New Year's, I just kind of like, I don't know, kind of like look at each part of my day and just try to like optimize it. And sometimes you get a little lackadaisical, but I think once I dial in like my nighttime routine, sleep, I just try to like optimize everything we talk about, food, workout, nutrition, walking, sleeping. Those are the big things I'll kind of start hammering a little bit.
I love it. Yep. We could probably do a whole separate episode about New Year's, goals, etc. We're not big resolutions people. We've talked about that before on past episodes, but very similar. I'm not coming out of my hibernation mode, but spring soccer is not that far away, so I'm starting to gear up things. I just finished doing a program, so now I'm starting up my own stuff again after 8 weeks kind of off of my own stuff. Now I'm doing back onto my own programming 3 days a week.
How'd you feel like your 8 weeks went?
It was great. I got a lot of things to unpack from that, so we'll probably do an episode on that. But I really enjoyed it. It was good, but I did miss writing my own stuff and the autonomy and flexibility of doing my own program, just because of the day-to-day things of being a parent, time constraints, etc. But it was very good, and I will definitely talk about that when we.
I was going to consult with you. I might hop on in that 8 week program.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, check it out.
It's fun. So that's how it's going fitness wise for me. As far as nutrition and eating, very same thing. I was actually like yearning to go back to work because I'm a teacher, because my work routine gives me more routine with food as well. So it's like I know what I'm eating for basically every meal. When I'm just lounging around the house with the kids on vacation, it's great, but it's also like just snacking and eating random stuff that I don't need. So good to get back to the routine in the new year for 2026. And I got some goals. And like I said, maybe we'll do an episode talking about some goals for the year. So just some fun ones to aim for. So we're on it. That's what's happening. That's what we're doing.
That's it. We have a question similar to what we just talked about. So we'll start off with that. The first question is, my nutrition is trash. What should I focus on in the new year? I think we can kind of
juice cleanses.
Yes. Yeah. Let's go to extreme. I think a lot of people are looking for like the magic pill of like, hey, what's the one thing, or what can I take, or I even had a client the other day. They're like, "What food should I take?" And then like all they wanted to hear about was supplements. I'm like, your food comes first, then you
That's not food.
supplement with food. But like they only wanted like, what supplements do you take? And I'm like, I don't take that many. That would help with nutrition. It kind of like aids my nutrition. But I think everyone's kind of looking for like, what's the quick way to what should I eat, or what should I be taking for protein or supplement that's going to help me. It's like, eat real food and don't eat too much.
Yeah, I get those messages too. Sometimes it'll be like they'll forward me a post online of some company that's selling nutritional supplements and things like that. Like, what do you think about this? And I'll just write back very simply, like, eat food, maybe take some creatine if you want to, and if you have any deficiencies vitamins wise. But like, that should be secondary. It's always like the meat and potatoes should be the meat and potatoes. You eat real food first, and then the other stuff is secondary. But other than the eat real food supplement secondary thing, what's some advice you would give to people nutritionally for the new year if they're trying to make a change, or just like simple basic things? Like, it's easy to say, oh, just eat real food. Like, what approach do you use? Because I know that you and your family are really good about the eat real whole food stuff.
Yeah, I think you can't beat prepping. Like, you have to prep your food. I think if you depend on an outside source or like, I'll make a good decision when it comes, I think you're already shot yourself in the foot. But I think you just need to like have a plan and write it down, and just follow like the basics. We have protein at every meal. There's carbs, which is, for our carbs, we use potatoes. That's like, we eat potatoes at every meal, which potatoes won't make you fat. People are like, if potatoes, white potato, any potato you can have is great. And then we do some veggies. It doesn't have to be crazy. And not even every meal we do veggies. Like, I think for lunch, a lot of times it's just meat and potatoes.
Yeah, literally the meat and potatoes.
Sounds really boring, but I think eating seasonally helps a lot. I think like soups when it's cold are great. Salads when it's a little warmer out, a little lighter. But yeah, that's kind of like what we follow. We have like our kind of standards for the week, and then I think a good like food meal prep program too. Like, obviously there's cost to it, but we just buy the nicest food we can, and I know it gets expensive, but that's like a big piece to our lives, is our health and nutrition. So we don't really skimp on that.
I love that. Yeah.
I think like a meal prep is great too. Like, if they're using good,
like a company,
foods.
Like, some of those.
I don't
there are some higher end ones out there that you can find, which there's a cost there, but there's also the convenience that saves you the time and all that. If you're not into cooking all the meals and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I think one other thing. Well, you can kind of add to that. What you guys do?
Well, similar, like, we usually have our meals planned for the whole week, so that when we go to the grocery store on the weekend, we usually go Sundays, sometimes Saturdays. We get all the food we need rather than going each day or grabbing something on the way home, because that, when you're in that rush, when you're just scrambling to find something to eat, you're not going to probably make the best choices. So you're going to grab the thing that's probably not as healthy for you when it's, you got 20 minutes to come up with a plan for you and the kids. So meal prep, I think, is huge. Having a plan for the week for what your meals are going to be, so that you can get it ahead of time. I also think that this is going to sound kind of counterintuitive, but you don't have to have crazy variety. Like, we eat a lot of the same stuff, like you mentioned, like meat and potatoes. You can eat a lot of the same stuff, but just tweak it in different ways and eat it in different ways. And then you don't have to worry about like, oh, what's our carb going to be today? It's like, you can do potatoes every day of the week and just make them a different way. Yep. Or like some families like rice. We eat a bit of rice. You can do rice, like simple carb. Like, you don't have to have pasta for a carb, right? As to switch it up. Just make the good carbs, those starches, and maybe sometimes some rices, different types of rice in different ways. And that helps out a lot. Same thing with meats. There's so many different ways to cook, your proteins and prepare them. I'm not a huge vegetable guy, so we have like a few vegetables that are our staples. And if you like it, you just make it and tweak it in different ways. Again, I like broccoli and a few others. There's a million ways to make broccoli, right? So so that sort of variety, I think, takes a little bit of time to develop and find different recipes, but it helps people who are like, oh, I don't want to eat beef again, or I don't want to eat chicken again. It's like, well, there's like a million ways to make chicken in different recipes. So once you have that in your little arsenal, we just have a list and we just pull it out. Well, we're making this chicken crock pot meal this week, this beef whatever meal, and it just makes life much, much easier when you have all those types of recipes to pull out of your pocket.
Yeah, I love that. It's interesting that like we both talked about the quality or what you should be eating, not like how much. I think some people get like overwhelmed with like how many macros or how many calories should I be having. I think that's important, but I think it's just like working out. It's like you should be doing good movements first, and then like you can always tweak after that point. So like I think eat as much food as you want, as long as it's good quality food, and then you can always like track. I think you'll lose weight that way first, and then you can always like, okay, I want to dial this in a little more, like track your calories for a week or track your macros for a week. I think that would be the next step, but I think people should start with like just prepping their own food and eating good food and making good decisions. You can do that for a while until you have to make any changes from there.
Yeah, totally. Right. Like hit the big thing first, eat good food first, and then get into the minutia of macros, which honestly, if you're eating healthy, satiating food, it's hard to overeat. Like, have you ever tried to eat like too much steak or too much potatoes? Like it's you get so full so fast that you just can't. So it's like it almost automatically auto regulates you from overeating or eating bad stuff, and then you're not hungry for sweets after, because if you've eaten a really good dinner, you don't want a dessert because you're so full from all the the good, actually healthy food that you ate, that you don't need whatever that sweet thing is after the fact.
Yeah, I think so. I think like people always ask like, hey, how many calories or what should I be having? It's like that's kind of secondary to the food, the quality of food you're having. So yeah, that's how I would.
A good one.
I would change up the trash food to good quality food.
Yes, please don't eat. You're not Trash Panda.
That's it. The next question I have is: I have a vacation coming up in 2 months. How do I lose the most weight? And I think a piece of that would be the nutrition part, but we already kind of just focused on that. So what would you say, like, what would be some other changes you'd make to lose weight in that short amount of time?
In 2 months, I mean, that's 8 weeks, 8 to 9 weeks. You can definitely lose weight, right? Doing it safely would be important, right? You got to have realistic goals and realistic expectations in 8 weeks, how much you're going to lose, because you could very easily get out of control trying to have some crazy beach body. That's not realistic in that short amount of time. Anything's possible, but in 8 weeks, there are limitations. So I think make your goals realistic, make your expectations realistic. I think other than eating real whole foods, healthy foods, like we mentioned, you need to make sure that you're just exercising regularly. And that means lift weights, and with a mix of like walking or some type of cardio. It doesn't mean I want to look good, I'm just going to hammer cardio and sit on the elliptical for 4 hours a day. I actually think leaning a little bit more into some weightlifting for those 2 weeks, or for those 2 months, and having some background cardio or conditioning would be the best combination, rather than the other way, where a lot of people think I got to do tons of cardio and lift a little bit of weights if I want to lose weight. So those are the 3 things I'd say. Dial in your nutrition, or at least start just eating healthier, better. Lift weights 3 to 4 times a week, really, especially if you're not working out before this. Be a little conservative, and then a little bit of walking and basic cardio a couple days a week, and that's really all you need. It's the same formula you would use if you weren't going on vacation. Just do that. You don't need to there's no magic 8-week plan that's going to make you look like a model on the beach that in 2 months.
Yeah, I think obviously it's calories in, calories out. So if you are focusing on what you're eating, I think the other thing is just move more. And I think like walking is a great way to do it. I think like steps, like if you only get 5,000 steps in, try to get 10,000, or even if you get 10, try to get 15, like you're going to burn more calories. That would be a good way to do it. And then I think like definitely lifting. And I would honestly say like you want to lift heavy. I wouldn't even say like high rep lifting. You can look better. And
For
I
sure.
think like you said 8 weeks, like that's a lot of time. Like you can get a great program in 8 weeks. That's 4-week blocks. So I think you could definitely, lift heavy, build a lot of muscle in that time frame, and feel and look better going into like, a vacation. I think a lot of it's just feel, and you want to feel good about yourself. I think like lifting heavy, not just like lifting a light dumbbell 20, 25 times.
We're toning. We're toning. We're getting toned.
No, toning. You got to build. You got to build some muscle to tone. So I think like lifting a little heavier, maybe that 6, 8, 10 would probably be the highest rep range I'd go, and then just up. I wouldn't even you could sit on a treadmill, obviously, but just try to get your movement up. I just walk, be outside, walk wherever you can, take the stairs, just have that focus. But that's the same. It's funny. That's the same thing I would tell someone if they were getting into fitness, not just 2 weeks.
No vacation. Yeah.
We don't live our lives hey, in 2 months I want to look better. It's like I want to look good all year, but definitely you could turn some of those knobs and see better results in that short amount of time.
Yeah, for sure. I think people really underestimate, like you said, lifting heavy. I think people underestimate how much having muscle mass does for your metabolism and just burning calories while you're at rest. Like how much work those muscles do when you're not working for you. Like the more muscle mass you have, the stronger you are. You have more wiggle room than somebody else who doesn't, because your body is just burning up calories constantly because it's maintaining that muscle, and it just makes it easier to lose weight and get more, quote unquote toned, and get the look you might be looking for that vacation. So lift heavy weights.
Lift heavy weights. That's correct. What do we got next here?
What's the next one? We did nutrition, vacations. You want to do, all these are good. What direction you want to go in, sir?
I feel like, I forget which direction we said we wanted to go.
We could do touch and toes or 2 days a week in the gym. You want to do touch and toes?
Yeah, let's do touch and toes. Yeah. So the question is, I can't touch my toes if I feel stiff. Where do I start? So if you were like, hey, I can't, I'm getting tight. It's a new year. I have some mobility goals. Where would you start out there, Mickey?
I would start by just move more, because more likely than not, if you're having trouble touching your toes and you're stiff, it's probably because you're sitting a lot and sedentary a lot. That's not 100% always the case, because I know a lot of people who are just stiff because they don't have a good mobility routine and they're very active. But a lot of the time people come to me and they're like, oh my gosh, my hips, my back, everything's tight. They are sitting like 75% of the time at work, at home. So I think just moving more would be my first recommendation. Move your body, because it's meant to move. It's not meant to be sitting around. So that'd be the first thing I'd tell somebody. What would you think off the bat?
Yeah, I think obviously you ask them kind of what they're doing, because it could be, I run marathons and they move enough, but they have a different problem. They move too much. And I think you could have someone who sits and they're like, I'm really stiff. And I think both those are overused things. So their body's like, hey, I'm not loving what I'm doing. I don't love sitting, and I don't love too much repetitive movement. Because I've trained people who are like, oh, I did like a spin class and I did this thing and that, and I'm really stiff. It's like, well, your body's like overused. Like it's like the overused in a repetitive way. Like it's not, I'm not saying like, I agree with you, you should just move your body. But I think like some focused strength work is a lot of times, if your hamstrings are really tight, maybe some light hamstring curls or a hip bridge, like just getting blood flow in different areas to kind of vary up what you're doing, I think is important. So yeah, I think like, that's what I would say. It would depend on what situation you're in, but I think like switching up your movement routine, or even start a routine, or if you're in one, I think like it's kind of working from both ends. Yeah. But I think like, get some blood flow in muscle groups that you're not using.
Yeah. The hips, back, glutes, they're usually the ones who are the culprits, because they're either being used too much and compensating for things, or they're just dormant because they're not being used much at all, paying the price for it. I'd say like my go-to for myself, like if I drive for a long drive, like for a vacation, or I just feel like I've been sitting a lot for whatever reason at work, I like to do like couch stretches, pigeon stretch. And you could look these up really easily on YouTube. So couch stretch, pigeon stretch, and then like a straddle stretch or like a downward dog, those types of things. Just things to open up my hips, open up my, groin, all that stuff. Because they usually are the thing making my hips and back cranky is that stuff. Just a few stretches that you find that work for you to get your hips and back feeling better. You don't need to do something different. If that works, just stick to those things. Because those are the 4 I'll do a minute or so each side after a long drive, and just kind of stand up and move around and shake it out. And I always feel way, way better after.
Yeah, I think like that. I love all those stretches. And I think just, I think movement, like I love like just hip bridge hold and then doing a, long lunge, kind of like a stretch with the hip flexors. And then, I think like just getting some blood flow in different areas, some side steps with a band.
That's a good one.
Kind of loosen up everything with the hips, back, and hip flexors. So I think like just add some extra movement, and I think is always a good way to start. I think it's just the blood flow issue. A lot of people mistake it for tightness. It's like, well, you don't ever use your hamstrings. You've never hinged over at your waist, so like, why would they work? Like, they're tight.
When is the last time you bent over at the hip intentionally?
Even if you just did, it's funny, if a person like that, you had them do 10 good mornings in good posture and good mechanics, they'd be like, oh, I could reach down lower now. And it's like, we didn't really stretch. We kind of just got some blood flow, some movement in there.
Yep.
And you have better range of motion. So I think like just exposing them to different areas. And that does take some coaching, some, understanding of the human body. But I think I think people just think they're tight. And it's like a lot of times when we warm up and it's cold out in the garage, a good warm up, I don't really have a ton of stretches I'm doing after that.
No.
It's like,
I just needed to move. I needed to move around. Yeah.
Yeah. Get some blood flow and then you're good to go. So,
and I think like the biggest overarching thing for all that is like doing that consistently. Like if you do it for a week, you're like, oh, my back feels better and I feel way less stiff. And then you just stop again for a month. It's going to come right back. So it's something you got to do consistently and frequently to keep your body happy.
Do you personally have like outside of workout mobility routine?
I've been trying to add in a day of like it's movement and like yoga mobility where I'll like ride the bike a little bit, get off and stretch. So very much what you were mentioning about like just getting blood flow around my body. There's not a specific routine I use, but I like to mix up 5 or 10 minutes easy on the bike or walking and then like stretch or some yoga moves and then back on the bike, back and forth. So I'm breathing, sweating a little bit, but also moving my body just through like long ranges of motion with no weight. That's been feeling really good. I've been doing that for the last couple months. So that's sort of my go-to limber up routine.
I love stretching before bed. Kind of more like actually like a little.
There's a lot of studies. There's studies on that about like the lymphatic system and everything. Sort of, it's like calming for your body to do that.
Yeah. So I do like some foam rolling and then maybe like 5 to 6 minutes of foam rolling, like upper back and a little bit of hips, quads, and then I'll do like a few stretches just to kind of loosen up whatever is tight that day or I want to focus on. That like is typically tight for me. Kind of like abs, sometimes psoas. I feel like my psoas loosens everything up for me. Personally, like if my abs are tight, it's like loosen up my hip flexors, my lower back. And then I feel like I sleep a little better. So if I do add any mobility in, it's usually at the end of the day. And that's also prepping me for my morning workout the next day. So that's kind of how I add it in a little bit. So
good stuff.
Yeah. The next one I have is I only have 2, let's say 1 day.
1 day
in the gym, 1 to 2 days. Let's say maybe 1 day. 1 day in the gym, what should I focus on? I think a lot of people just to start this question don't even think 1 day in the gym's worth it. So they don't even do it. And I think 1 day in the gym is I've trained clients 1 day a week or 2 days a week, and they see almost more results than people who are there 4 or 5 days a week. So I think 1 day in the gym, I would obviously like encourage some movement outside that. It's not like in the gym for 1 hour and then nothing the rest of the week. Hopefully you're living a little more active lifestyle, but I think you can see a lot of strength gains and progress with just 1 day a week of good focused effort. So I didn't know if you kind of wanted to elaborate on what you would focus on if you only had 1 day in the gym.
Yeah. If I only had 1 day, I mean, it's going to be a full body day, right? I'm going to try to hit like a full body routine. It's still only going to be like 6 exercises, but I would probably do some kind of squat of sorts. It could be single leg, could be bilateral or, single leg. some kind of press, could be anything as simple as a push-up, depending on where you're starting as an athlete, and then some kind of pull, like an upper body pull, like a pull-up or a row or even a curl. Again, it depends on the athlete. And then something for like the upper back, like a scap pull apart or a banded face pull, and then some core work. Probably I would go with like a plank of some kind with like a variability, like a plank pull through, like with a kettlebell, or if, again, depending on the level of the athlete you're working with. So I'm just rattling off things that kind of might seem random, but it's like a big lift, and then you kind of go down the list of a full body movement, a mix of upper and lower that hits a little bit of everything. And if you hit that with intent and some intensity and good loading once a week, like, you're going to see some progress. Even if you don't come back to the gym the rest of the week and you just stay active outside the gym, I think you could get a lot done that way. And like you said, I think people underestimate that and don't give it enough credit that one day or very few days working out per week can be really, really good.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just were like, it's not worth it. I think that one day could even maintain, if not even increase what you have. So I think if you're a beginner, I think it's definitely going to increase. If you've, say you're an experienced athlete for 10 years and you don't get to work out that much, I think you can maintain what you have.
Totally.
Like I
easily.
I think at this point I could work out one day a week and be great, and maintain what I have for a long period of time. So yeah, I think get in the gym, move. I love all the movements you mentioned. I would definitely focus on like the weight part, as much weight as you could do. Because you could always, say you just schedule a time, work environment, and you don't get other times in the gym. You could always do a body weight routine on your own, or bands. There's so much stuff you can do outside the gym that like try to focus on like heavier loads, things that you don't have availability for outside of training. So yeah, I think like that one day in the gym is definitely, don't throw away the one day in the gym for, I'm not going to go, it's not worth it.
And that one day too, and I think that you would agree with this, is like, it's still only going to be, I would say, an hour, right? It's like an hour, right? Or maybe even less. But I think the intensity and the loading is important for that one day. Like, you kind of got to go heavy, and you got to be very, specific in your intent with everything you do. There's not going to be any wasted time or wasted movements, because if you're only getting one day, you got to make them all count. All those exercises count and every rep count. So, but yeah, I think, it's so underestimated. If you do one workout a week, that's 52 workouts for the year. And if you were doing none before that, that's a lot more workouts than you were doing previously. And if you are somebody who is already fit, you're still getting a workout a week in that can help you maintain what you have, along with if you're active outside the gym. So I think anything's better than nothing. Even one good day is better than no days at all.
It's funny, if you did 52 workouts and you had another person going 5 days a week, but like took every 2 weeks off,
you'd probably end up like the same.
Probably be the same, if not a little bit better. Or if you went 5 days a week and always got injured and you had to take months off of that time, like, I'd rather have someone go one day a week and just be consistent. Like, you're not going to miss the one day, and you're going to keep seeing results that way. So
yep.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. I think this is the last one we have. What do we? Oh yeah, this is kind of like a New Year's goal one. I feel like I'm floating through my life, want to be healthy, just don't know what direction I should go in for goal setting. And I think like you have a lot of like parents who are middle of their lives and they're busy trying to build a career or work a career and have kids, and it's like, what am I doing? Like, I have no time to myself anyway. Like, I have no goals. Like, why should I be? It's the motivation aspect of like, why do I make time to go to the gym, or why do I make time to do this where I don't have any time anyway? So any advice for those type of people?
Yeah, I mean, this could get into the whole philosophy. I mean, as a parent, right, we always talk about this. We don't compete in much anymore other than doing our little side quests and adult leagues or whatever. But like, ultimately my goal is I just want to be healthy if I'm a parent, right? I'm speaking from parent perspective. If you don't have a goal, like, just make your goal, you want to live as long as possible and be as accessible and, able as long as possible to help your family, support your family, be a fun parent, right? Be able to go do all that stuff your kids are going to want you to do. If you don't have a family, this also applies to you. Like, quality of life, health is wealth. Like if anything, all right, you're not going to go in the Olympics. Okay. But do you want to live long and healthy and be able to tie your shoes when you're older, reach up into a cabinet above your head when you're older, right? Like all these kind of random mundane things that people take for granted now when you're healthy enough and young enough to just do it at will won't be accessible in 30, 40, 50 years down the road if you don't invest now in your health. So I think that's what I always go back to if I don't have a specific goal. If you need specific goals, there's a million things that you could do. Tough Mudder, you could pick a 5K race. You could say, I want to do 20 push-ups. There's a lot of different goals out there. It really just depends on what you want to achieve and what you want to do. But I think those are, like I said, kind of side quests. The ultimate goal should be, live long, be healthy, and be able as long as possible. Which sounds really cliche, but like,
yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think a lot of people, like, especially in our society, are like they want instant gratification. Like, I think that's like a very much like, hey, like, let me invest a bunch of things and at the end it's going to be great. I think a lot of people want like I want to be in shape, or I want it now. I want my goals to be finished quickly, where that one takes like a lot of investment. But I think like whatever goals you have or whatever you think fitness is, like, I think write them down and then just organize them.
That's really good. Yeah.
Like organize them in like, okay, I want a pull-up. A pull-up is a tough goal. Like people are like, I want to do a pull-up. It's like, well, let's do some stuff before that. Like let's bump that one down. But 20 push-ups is great. Like I think you could do that one pretty quickly with a little bit of focus, depending on where you're starting. Maybe it's 10. You just adjust the number. And then you're like, okay, I want to run a 5K. It's like, okay, well, let's put that maybe as we're doing our pull-ups. So like, I think that having a coach to help you like organize what your goals might be, but I think like having little small attainable things along the way to a big goal, I think is great. Just kind of like gives you those breadcrumbs as you go. Yep. I think the overall top of the mountain is just being a capable parent. But then like you have like your leagues that you do, or, things that you participate in. I think are all like great things to kind of like keep the carrot in front of you as you're growing and as you're kind of like reaching your ultimate goal. But I think like a lot of people just are like, oh, what's the point? And you just have to like, get those, find those 4 or 5 things that like, okay, this is why we do that.
Yeah. And I think too, like I see nothing wrong with goals and being like, oh, I want abs. It's like, that's fine. Like, I think having a goal is great because then it does give you something to aim for, something to shoot for, and it gives you some motivation. But it's tried, true, and tested that like that motivation of the initial goal wears off really fast. So you have to find the intrinsic value of working out that gets you out of bed to do the early morning workout, that gets you to the gym or doing the workout, even when you're really not interested and you're like, oh, I don't want to. Like that intrinsic stuff is going to bring you more towards the goal rather than those abs seem nice, but like, I'm not going to take my shirt off. Like, so it's like, you got to find like, and that's where like, I think as a parent, it's easy for me because like, oh, like I want to be around a long time and I want to be able to bug my kids for as long as possible. I want to be a grandparent who's around and all that stuff. So that's always like, that's going to get me out of bed. But if you don't have that, which is fine. Like your goal isn't having a family. Like you've got to find something that intrinsically you latch onto that makes your goals and can override that motivation, because the motivation is going to fade away. It's not always going to be there as strong as it is in the beginning when you pick a goal.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, and even for me, like I don't really have a goal. I just wake up and work out, like just part of who I am. And I think that's like another step to people can get into. It's like, who do you want to be? Who do you want to become? Kind of like Atomic Habits book, it's like, identify as that person. You are a healthy person who works out. And it's like, okay, that's why I get up and I go and, and this is why I'm doing it.
I have like, do you ever have like, sometimes I'll like come to in the middle of my workouts, and not in the sense of like, oh, I blacked out, but I'm just kind of like, I'm here again. And it's like brushing my teeth for me. And it's not to be like, oh, I work out. It's just like, but like, I can't see it any other way. So it's just like, I'm going. It just doesn't really matter. I'm going to show up there and it's going to happen. Like, it's like drinking water and eating food for me. So sometimes I'm in there, I'm like, God, I'm just in this garage again all alone. Like just
I
me
think
and my yeah.
Yeah, but like you said, it's just I wake up at 4:30 and go downstairs, brush my teeth, and go in the gym. Like it's like, it's just I don't know
It
any other
becomes
way.
that much easier, right? Like when it's
Yeah,
that much of a habit, it's like mindless. There is no thought into it. And in some ways, I think you and I are probably similar where it's like, it's harder to not connect, but just understand like, how don't you want to just go work out like without even thinking about it? But if you haven't done that, it is hard. And so we totally get that. And I think that's why the goals thing is a good thing to have goals. But eventually I would hope people can get to the point where you don't need to be chasing a carrot. You're just like, the race is what you're there for, the journey, which is so cliche, but it's like, I'm just here to get fit and be healthy. That's it.
yeah. Not to sound disconnected, but it's so hard to relate to those people sometimes. It's like, I didn't make it to the gym, or I didn't make time for it, or I don't want to go. It's like, what? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how that feels. Like, I don't know. Which
So,
is, yeah.
and if you need help getting on that bandwagon, you got two guys right here who can be that little voice in your like, go to the gym.
Get to the gym.
Get to the gym. And where can people find you, JP, if they need to get to the gym?
JP Wiz on Instagram.
And you can find me at the Dad Bod Chronicles on Instagram as well. And I think in our next couple episodes, we'll talk maybe about some New Year's goals. And we'll also have some fun guests on here for 2026. That's one of our goals, actually, is to have some more fun guests on, like Mike Thompson, Warren Jennings, and others who we've had on to chat with and just talk fitness things. So stay tuned for that, folks.
Yeah. Follow, like, share, and then request anyone that you think would be good on here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, let us know if there's any guests you'd want us to have on, for sure. All right. We will see you next time, folks. Thank you.